Unsyndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
What is up? He's Matt Shepard. I'm Sean Baligian. Hi. How are you? Everything
good, man.
Shep, isn't it great though? Seriously, you and I were just talking about this. I honestly, I've always been a sucker for the holidays when I was a kid. But man, I'll tell you what, especially as you get older, the whole idea, Shep, of having the whole clan back under the same roof, it kind of snuck up on me. I was just telling you, it was like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. Lauren's going to be back on Monday. Then Jack's flying in from California. And we're having so many people over. There's like this hustle and bustle, but man, there's no better feeling than having your loved ones together this time of year.
It's when everybody's their happiest,
right?
And that's all you care about. You want to see the smile on your kids' faces. We have our entire family over. Last year, I think we had about 40 people over. So you have, and I take pictures. I go up on the banister and I take pictures down low on how you spread everybody out. And I just like eavesdropping in on conversations and hearing the kids talk to one another because they haven't seen each other in a while and they're really not kids any longer. But the only problem with it is I'm sure Kristen's a lot like this. Lisa's got to make sure everything's just so, right? Everything's got to be perfect. So if there's a dust ball from one of the dogs, you got to make sure you get that. If there's anything out of place, I don't want this up too early. I don't want this taken down too late. Everything's got to be just so. It's the way she is. It's the way she just loves entertaining. I love when everybody's over. So I'm happy that you're going to get that chance too, man. That's cool.
Shep, it's yin and yang because you know me. I do all the cooking. I love it. I absolutely love it. Just leave me alone. Give me my space.
What will you cook?
So Thanksgiving, I have a traditional turkey. I have the Cajun turkey that everybody destroys. So just, again, because of tradition, I do the traditional turkey, and I always have that as a smaller turkey because what I found out in the last few years since I did this, smoked Cajun turkey, 10-to-1 ratio. People just destroy it. So like I'll get a 13, 14-pound bird and make it traditional. I'll get the big giant one. And it's just gone like that. And then I'm doing ham, cheesy potatoes, things like that. More of the traditional fare for Thanksgiving.
So you do it all. We have people bring stuff.
Oh,
Otherwise, it's, fortunately for us, we have 3 birds. Each one, I just picked them up yesterday, 15 pounds. And it's going to take a little while. It's going to be obviously in the oven for a while. You got the double oven. The problem is, how do you make everything else? So one sister will bring like you said, the cheesy potatoes. One sister will bring something else. One sister brings another. You get, nephews and nieces wanting to contribute. That makes it less stressful for us. You like to do the entire meal, huh?
I love it. Just leave me alone. That's what I say. In particular, Christmas Eve is the day, and my family has a term where they mock me. Boy, that's new. Not many people mock me. But my family, they call it go time because they said, Dad, you just get this look on your face and it's go time. And it's just like, just give me this space and that's when I do the pigs in the blanket and I'll do a little brisket, not a giant brisket, a little brisket, some tenderloin, the big turkey and things like that. I love that. Just leave me alone. Like 8:00 in the morning until we go to church, usually in the afternoon on Christmas Eve. And then when I get back, it's like, okay, now I got to put in the smoked ham. That's only going to take about an hour and a half. And it's like, honest to goodness, just if you give me my space, I love to do it all.
You know what you should have done? You should be on Barbecue Pitmasters. Have you ever thought about that?
Yes.
You ever see that show? You ever see that show?
I love it.
I get addicted to that show. I'm serious. Barbecue Pitmasters is unbelievable. The amount of pride and time that they take to put in their brisket, their ham, their turkey, whatever it may be. You would love that stuff. You would be really good on a show like that.
You know what we do? It's always new things for me. It's always trying new things for me. And my buddy Mike.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that when everything else is fine? If everybody likes everything else you do, why would you change from borderline tradition or whatever everybody else likes. I don't know why you want to mess with it. What are you messing with it for?
Well, Shep, I'm sure are you familiar with the game of baseball? Think about a great pitcher, right? I don't know if Shep, are you familiar with the game of baseball? But Shep, think about that pitcher. Think about that pitcher that everybody knows what he's going to do. One of my favorite at bats is when Zumaya struck out A-Rod at Yankee Stadium in the 06 playoffs, because everybody, including A-Rod, thought that Zumaya was going to rear back and go 103 at him. And instead, he threw that breaking ball, and you could see like A-Rod going, and then he broke his femur because, he waited too long. And so I like to mix in that change up a little bit.
Listen, Sean, there's something to be said about being Joaquin Benoit and having David Ortiz deposit one into the bullpen and knowing that everybody knocks it out of the park and they love what you're gonna make too.
Yeah, you know what? I like to throw. I'm going to check the boxes. I'm going to do everything that I normally do, but I always mix in something new to see if it hits, if that makes sense. And my buddy Mike, you were over when we did our ribs. He does a pulled ham, and I'm like, go on. And he said, dude, I get a giant ham, and the glaze and all that stuff, and I just put it in the smoker for like 14 hours. And he goes, when you take that thing out, you better have both hands underneath it because it'll fall apart. And I think that's a fascinating idea. So that's something I want to try.
Are you, what's the temperature you're cooking it at?
I have, so right now, as we speak, and that's why I have the cap on, I have a pork butt in there at 250. But since it was an overnight smoke, it's a little higher than I have to do because the temperature was like 32 degrees last night, and obviously we had snow. Right. So I have to put it a little higher than I want. In a perfect world, I'll go about 235. But 250 overnight, it compensates for the cold. So those are the things that you learn. And the wind just screws with you. Like you get a windy day and it's like, gosh, damn it. All these numbers that fly around my head like Rain Man, they're all askew at that point in time.
So here's my guess. My guess is your plate is nothing but meat. You're not worried about a green bean casserole. You're not worried about cranberries.
That healthy shit.
You're not worried about squash or sweet potatoes. It's all meat. That's all it is, right?
I don't want anything to do with that stuff. Get away from me.
All right.
Go take it someplace else.
I just want to make sure you're regular, if you get my point.
I told Sean he should go on that show the other night. Yes, he did. Watch Goldie's Barbecue Doc in Texas. Great 30-minute flick. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. I'll try that.
No, I'm with you. I love that stuff. Shep, I don't know if you remember this, back in the day when we were working together at the radio station, I had a chance to be a judge at some of those Kansas City barbecue events. Yes, phenomenal.
I do remember that. Well,
phenomenal.
Those were in Royal Oak, right?
I had a couple in Royal Oak, and then I had a couple on the west side of the state. I went to both places, and the things that you learn from those people, it's like anything else, man. Sometimes just shut up and listen. Because these are people, these are professionals, man. And like you were talking about, they take that stuff seriously. So some of the stuff that you pick up, like the ribs in particular, I'm pretty proud of my ribs. And it's all stuff that I got from other people.
You make what's in your sauce?
I don't do sauce. I do dry rub. Yeah, I think let the meat be the star, man. If you take care of the meat, let the meat be the star. I'll give you sauce. If you're one of those people you like it on the side, I can do it on the side. But I don't.
So give me your sauce. What is it? Is it store bought or are you making it your own?
No, I like to go with a couple different varieties of store bought. And there are some people that like it. There are some people most of the people that I know, like if they come over and have ribs, they don't want sauce. Do
you want sweet or sour?
I like sweet. I like sweet. Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of the sour. Matt says, "Fire Alan Holler." Sorry, just had to get that. So what does that stem from? What could that stem from?
I think a lot of people are concerned about Maria. Hey, I think a lot of people are concerned about complacency. If that makes sense, I hear a lot of people. I think with basketball and with football, I think that's what some people are concerned about. Now, I like Jonathan Smith, but there are some things this year. Well, let me tell you this. I think in a perfect world, I would have loved to see progression as opposed to regression. I think that's a team that has regressed this year. I don't think there's any debate about that. And
Because they've lost or because of the way they played?
because of the way they've played.
Okay. What was the game you expected them to win that they didn't?
To me, it's not so much about wins and losses, Shep, because I said 6-6 before the season starts.
Right. But we all have a different way of getting there, or oftentimes we have a different way of getting there. And you and I have talked numerous times, including when we worked together at the radio station, expectations change.
100%. And you know what? There are two, and they're both kind of stemmed in expectations. I think the Maryland game I thought was a loss. And I thought the Indiana game, because we didn't know about Coach Sig before the season started, let's be honest, right. I thought was a W. But as always, the devil is in the details. It's the way things happen. And that's frustrating. And I think in particular, the Indiana game, how quickly that game got away and how non-competitive it got away was a red flag. Now, again, consider the source. I'm not saying, oh, this guy needs to go. He needs to.
I know.
And the same thing needs to be said for the Illinois game. That game was hanging there. Like reach up and grab it, and it just got away. And that's
I would agree with that. So the two games that stick out for me are Boston College and that one. Okay, and Boston College was early.
100%.
Fair enough. And you're right. Sean Baligian is not saying he needs to go. You have been, shall I say, more than patient with another team that is trying to get back to where it once was.
Mm-hmm.
More than patient, as in 5+ years patient. Don't tell me, and this isn't directed at you, but it's more, don't tell me after 10 games, you're sitting here telling me that this team should be miles and miles ahead of where it is right now. I don't buy that. I think I look at, I'm not going to suggest that they're not degressing at all or digressing, but I think they've gotten better up front than where they have been in the past. So I actually have been a little bit more encouraged than that. Now, let's just, but for sake of argument, let's say Matt's right. You want to fire the AD over that? And and just out of curiosity, where is the complacency in basketball that people are alluding to? The people are telling you, not me.
I think that Michigan State basketball has been an old bit for 5 years. Now, this is me talking. I'm going to set my watch to it. Are you ready? And you tell me if I'm wrong here. Okay. There's the big game early in the year, but pick a team. Pick Kansas.
Right.
Pick any of those teams. Yeah. And golly gee, they play so close and they scratch and claw and oh my goodness gracious, we came up just short.
Right.
But there's something to learn from that. There's something to learn for that. Set your watch to that every single year. Then you have the ability.
And we already got it, by the way. We already got it with Kansas. Well, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of it. I thought they were the better team.
I'm going to check two more boxes. Okay. Then there's the obligatory game against a BG. Okay. Where you struggle and BG looks good and everybody talks about how BG is, but golly gee, you come up in the end. And then when people say, is that a little alarming to you? Oh, you don't know basketball. That is a really good team. Oh, I can't even have these conversations with you. Today is the day I'm blocking people. I can't deal with idiots, okay? Check. Now, Samford. Same thing. The exact same thing. And Shep, if you think I'm wrong, you guys can play this game at home. And you know the usual suspects, okay? You know who they are. I'm not going to say their names. It's not just that you're dumb. It's you're condescendingly dumb.
Right. I think
clearly you don't follow college basketball.
I think the one part you're missing, the one box you haven't checked yet is this team gets better as the season goes along. And I'm not suggesting they're not, because they may. You're not going to win going 7 for 24 from 3 like they did against Samford. You're not going to beat Indiana. You're not going to beat UCLA. You're not going to beat the good teams in the Big Ten or dare I say, the NCAA tournament. It's not happening. For some, they shot 60, about, I think it was like 65.5% from two. Why are you taking so many threes? Because that's the game today?
Yeah.
Be different. Rebound, hit your tough twos, hit your twos inside. You win the game much easier than you did when you're struggling from the floor like they did. Without Aiken's 25, career high 25, where are they against Sanford? So I'm with you.
And Shep, here's the thing, and this is where I struggle, and we talked about this earlier in the season with Aiden Childs in particular.
Yeah.
People hear this stuff, and you know what their reaction is. Oh, so now you've turned on Tom Izzo.
Exactly. No.
What?
No.
No. Tom Izzo is a treasure. Like, seriously, Tom Izzo has been so important to that university on and off the court. Oh. It's insanity.
I actually feel bad for him, Sean. I feel bad that he has to carry the proverbial water for that university all the time.
All the time.
Mel Tucker, we need your support from Mel Tucker. You got it. Mel Tucker, he's got to go. So now we need your support bringing somebody else in. You got it, right? All the time, it's always a lean on him. Hey, we need people to show up. So please, can you sign a basketball and have dinner with Tom Izzo? It's constant. Just because you respect a guy, and just because you admire what he's done in his career doesn't mean that you can't be critical of him.
They have become, they've become an old bit. They are. And the fallback that people do is the whole, well, if COVID didn't happen, that team surely was going to the Final Four. And if I had a dime for the amount of times that I heard that, and by the way, just for the record, it's almost 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
Like, are we, and so I'm going to say the same thing. I like Jonathan Smith. I don't know what Matt's particular thoughts are. I like Jonathan Smith, but like but anything, I think he gets Michigan State. I think with his background, he's a perfect coach at Michigan State.
Me too.
However, some of the things that I've seen this year, I guess I expected this, and maybe I'm guilty of the linear type of stuff I preach against. And like we talked about earlier with Childs, I'm not saying even now, I'm not saying the kid's never going to make it. But don't tell me that we can't say he doesn't look good.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really weird.
And by the way, this is not exclusive to MSU.
No.
You said it about Joe Milton at Michigan, too, okay? Just because a guy can throw and just because he's athletic doesn't mean he's going to be a really good quarterback. Now, Joe Milton got better at Tennessee, but you understand my point, right? Mm-hmm. Matt's sitting there saying, and I respect his opinion. Just because we disagree doesn't mean I don't respect it. He says MSU basketball hasn't made the second weekend in the tournament, or they've only made the second weekend in the tournament twice in a decade, hasn't won a Big Ten title in 5 years. Matt, great point, because there's a certain standard. However, when he says Haller has potentially missed on 2 football coaches, he gave Tucker the extension and hired a guy who's been a train wreck in year 1. You really think he's been a train wreck in year 1? Do you think you might be slightly over-exaggerating things? Come on.
I can't. No, I can't. That's one I disagree with. I think what happened, especially after the Maryland game, is a lot of people thought, okay, onward and upward. And I think some people were maybe the misguided anger, and now they're victims of their own expectations. Yeah. Because I mean, look, and that's what we all do, including myself.
You could be guilty of that. You could be guilty of that.
Absolutely. You sit back and you go, okay, maybe they can win 8 games. You know what I mean? Well, and I'll go back to the Wings. We were talking about it last night. Shep, I said it when I was working on your network, the day he was hired. You could ask the guys that we all worked with. I said, literally, this isn't Sean Baligian talking. This is 2 general managers in the National Hockey League, one from a very good team, one from a very poor team, that said, legitimately, when you're taking over something as disastrous as the Detroit Red Wings are, and they were, this is going to take 5 years. Those are their words, not mine. So I said that day, April 19th, 2019, fair enough. Let's see how things go. Okay. But come 2024, that's when some questions have to be answered. And anybody with a half a brain in their head, I don't care if you sleep with a Steve Yzerman pillow under your widow head. it doesn't look good right now.
Right. No.
His coaching choice doesn't look good. The lack of development from some of the players. I think you and I talked about
his roster in general doesn't look good. And I know Mo Seider's a good player. I know Lucas Raymond's a good player. Sean, are they being paid like good players, or are they being played like better than good players?
My problem is, to that point, I think Mo Seider has done this. And I know that Lucas Raymond has done this. The guy that we saw last year that literally carried that team, especially when Larkin went out, and the guy who was the best player on the ice in those last couple of games where the Wings had to get every single point. Where's he been?
Right.
I don't. Do you know what it reminds me of, Shep? And I know some people are going to say this is heresy, but I'm going to say it anyway. All right. And you had a front row seat for it. Okay. This reminds me of Al Avila, the early years right now. And I'm not going to take that back. Wait till you see this. Wait till you see that. Wait till you see this. Wait till you see that. There's our center fielder of the future.
Yeah.
Huh?
So here's what I worry about. I worry a little bit about guys like, for example, Seider. Is he truly a one?
Mm-hmm.
Because people in hockey, I remember having this conversation with Mike Babcock. And I had it about a certain defenseman who was a second pair defenseman, Brad Stewart, to be honest with you. And I said, he's so good right now. Why wouldn't you just make him a first line D?
I know where you're going with this.
And his answer in so many words was, because some guys are just better at that position.
Mm-hmm.
They're better where you leave them. Just because they're really good there doesn't mean they're going to be really good if you elevate them with more minutes against a better line. And my fear is that, we expected, because Mo Seider was so good as a rookie, wins the Calder and everything, and then you're like, okay, is this guy going to be a top line defenseman? Is he going to be the number one D on your team? And I remind Red Wings fans and any fans all the time, would he be on a really good team? To me, that's the measuring stick. If he went to pick a team, okay, right now, Winnipeg, would he be the number one defenseman? Last year, would he be the number one defenseman for a team on like the Rangers or the Bruins or the Avs or the Oilers? The answer to that is probably no. If he's a number one guy on your team, then that's one thing. But what is he on a really good team? Let's use the example of Tarek Skubal. Tarek Skubal just was unanimously named the American League Cy Young Award winner. He's the best pitcher in baseball. Not just on the Tigers. He'd be the ace on every team he would play on, outside of maybe the Yankees with Garrett Cole. He would be the number one guy for every team in every rotation. That's what I think people were expecting from Mo Seider. Lucas Raymond, I think they just expected him to be a really solid first liner, but they're both making well over $8 million, Sean. That tells you they're supposed to be better than just good players, right? Am I wrong there?
No, and that's why, Shep, I think, especially when you look at some of the other building clubs, and I'm going to use these guys as an example. Cole Caulfield got a huge contract. Cole Caulfield showed signs. You know what Cole Caulfield did this year?
Yeah.
Nick Suzuki, one of the most underrated players. I watch him every night. People do not give him the credit he deserves. Boom. You know what I mean? And that's what you have to do. And again, Shep, if somebody's hearing this, I'm not saying that Mo Seider is a bad player, okay? What I'm saying is he's been here. He needs to go like this, but he's been stagnant the last couple of years. I haven't seen the growth that I think not only myself, but a lot of people thought of him being that impact player, of being that prototypical, every team needs this.
Victor Hedman, just say the name, okay?
Yeah, right. Quinn Hughes. I mean, obviously different type of player, but a guy that I'm going to control the game, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Right. I'm so glad that you brought that up. One of my pet peeves with the Red Wings, and they had to do it in the later part of the Babcock years out of necessity, was consistently asking somebody to be something that they aren't.
Right.
Consistently. It was, and honestly, and I know what people think about Mike Babcock. While you're thinking all those thoughts about Mike Babcock, I think what you also need to do is accept the fact that he was a phenomenal hockey coach. His methods can be questioned, and they have been questioned.
Yeah.
Shep, for him to do what he did those last few years with what he had at his disposal,
Yeah,
dude,
I
I'm
suppose you could turn it
serious.
around. You could turn around and say, "Look what he had in Toronto, and he didn't do it."
Yeah, well, that was.
And personally, I think part of it.
You know that.
Yes, absolutely. But I think part of being, and I like Mike. I mean, we still have a good relationship, but part of being a really good hockey coach is more than just X's and O's. You've got to be a decent people person too. And when you've burnt that many bridges with that many players, you're the common denominator, and there's an issue there. So,
Yep. I better do some reads. You
yeah,
and I
do
do.
something.
Let's talk about the Wealth Advantage Group. If you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group. Located in historic downtown Northville, owned by those two guys, the Hanson brothers, with over 20 years of industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are, and that's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, not only do they take care of you and your money, you get a free pie the day before Thanksgiving. That's right. That's become a tradition in our house. We drive down and see Mr. Mike and Mr. Jeff. That's what my kids call them. And we pick up our free pie. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready
What kind do you get? What kind do you get?
You know what? This year we went with the traditional apple because I had already picked up a pumpkin pie. And that's the other thing, Shep, that the pie table at the end of the day. Don't get me started. If you're already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 different states. Look, the investment world is a complex one, so if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, then it might be time to work with a couple of experts. Reach out to the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574 or check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Shep, good news in the chat. Maria/James/1 said, I'll add you and DM you my portfolio. Maria, I can't wait till that happens. I'm sure everything is on the up and up with that. I'm sure there's no bot or you're not asking for my birth date or social security number or anything like that. So I will get right to, as soon as we're done, Maria, I am jumping all over that.
More than willing to share our personal information with you. Yeah,
absolutely. What do you need? Do you need my date? What, my social security? Whatever you need. I got you. Thank you.
Listen, look, you mentioned the pies,
yes,
which gets me so hungry right now. My sister makes this chocolate trifle every holiday. So you've got chocolate whip, and then you've got cake, and you've got more chocolate whip, and then you've got cake. And then you've got more chocolate whip, and then you've got cake, and you've got whipped cream all on top with chocolate shavings. Sometimes in that whip, she'll mix in either Snickers or Twix a little bit, but it's it's whipped. It is. I mean, last year we brought my wife's family over to celebrate with our family. They had never had it before, and you should have seen the look on my nephew's face. It's like the first time you discover the opposite sex. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe what I've been missing all this time in my life. All right, let me ask you about Scuba real quick.
Can I get to a pie very quickly, though? Have you ever heard of chess pie? Do you know what chess pie is? It's a Southern pie.
Well, that's a pretty good segment. That's a good segue in.
Okay.
I do not. Well, tell me what's in it.
Basically, think pecan pie without the pecans.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It is phenomenal.
Where'd you have it?
My mom knows somebody from the South that like bakes them like around here. And so I told my mom, I said, seriously, order 4 like that. And Shep, I don't know if you're the same way. I really, truly try to stay away from the sweets. But man, when the sweet tooth hits, it's over. I'll destroy one of those. Wait a second. Didn't we have 4 pies? No, you only brought 3.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I know I brought 4. No, you brought 3. Did you eat a pie? I did.
Like the dog who got caught. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom used to make a homemade peach pie that was out of this world. And she made what was called a rhubarb pie. I don't know if you've ever had rhubarb pie.
Good. Yes.
So good. So good. And you put some vanilla ice cream on there. You're going to have to carry me out with a wheelbarrow. I mean, absolutely. All right, let me ask you about Tarek Scuba.
Yes.
So not a surprise, right? one of the better seasons in Tigers history. I mean, he's not Denny McLain-esque, right? But still one of the best seasons in Tigers history. 24 of his 31 games where he was limiting the opposition to 2 runs or less. I know, it's stupid, right? Triple Crown winner. Chris Sale had, and I'm not a huge Chris Sale guy. He was unbelievable with Chicago.
He seems like a really stable guy. Shep.
But his numbers are just like Tarek Skubal's. Look at it. 18 wins. The ERA is right there. I think he struck out 3 fewer batters. How imperative do you think it is that the Tigers, if you were in Scott Harris's position right now, extend Skubal? Would you do it right now?
Yes. But it's not going to happen.
Well, okay. So I don't disagree with you, even though you've got him 2 years under control.
Mm-hmm.
The next question, and it can't be just the single, would you do it? Because most people would say yes. I need to know for how long and for how much.
It's funny to have these conversations, and I'll play along, but I go back to Christopher, and I don't know if I can call him Christopher, but I'm going to call him Christopher anyway. It's always nice when you have finally a bona fide prospect after years of selling us Kristen Stewart. It's always nice that when we have a bona fide superstar after the years of promises, we insult him with an offer. That's just good business. And the message that tells the rest of the league is that's the most, we're back in business and we mean business. That's what I want. I want his general manager to come out and say, that wasn't a serious offer. It's really good for business.
That's how you do business.
That's how you do business. And
first of all, Sean, you go in.
Wait till you see this new building we've got for District Detroit. And then we understand where the priorities are.
Sean, don't you know in business? I mean, just to ask anybody who's a good businessman, the first thing you do is you go in with an insulting offer.
100%.
That way you've got their attention.
Yes.
And after you've collected their attention, then you can get down to business and you tell them, I want you to prove it one more year. Then I'll come with a serious offer.
Yes.
Because it's going to be, because that person, once they have another good year, they're not going to say anything like, I don't know, the price just went up.
It is, Boris. Boris will look at some of the top contracts, and I know you and I talked about this a few days ago, and he will pursue market value. And you know what? It's not just a Boris thing. I think that's 1,000%. I would look at certain contracts and go, see that? I want that. Mm-hmm. And because right now you can do that. And Shep, I'm going to say it again. It isn't like this just came out of nowhere. Anybody who paid attention the last couple months of the previous season, that was Tarek Skubal telling everybody, hey guys, I arrived. Yeah. No, really, I arrived. This isn't Torque arrived. I arrived and I'm going to prove it to you next year. And so this isn't just, I don't know, when we were kids, do you remember Steve Stone, who turned into a great broadcaster?
Yeah,
Steve Stone had this year that I have no other way. He pulled it out of his ass.
Yeah, he's a Cy Young Award winner. Right.
He won the Cy Young. And then it was like in the offseason, he goes, oh, yeah, I'm Steve Stone. I'm not very good. But, it happened. He had a year. So I think there's a long enough trajectory there where, honest to God, if I'm Boris, I go around and I look at all the contracts and I present my case and I say, Christopher, okay, stop. I know the shiny building has your attention right now. Could you focus here?
I don't need another piece of pizza right now. Thank you.
Christopher, these are the contracts of the biggest name pitchers in baseball. My client is one of them. And that's why I worry about this whole situation.
I think it's probably starting at somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 years, $240 million.
Yeah.
And that might be low. I'm just saying it might be. So that would be, probably kick in. I don't know how they handle the next 2 years, but that's what they're going to be looking for. The problem the Tigers have, if the report is true, and I don't know that it is, but if the report is true and that they have lowballed him with an offer, which is to me absolutely ridiculous and just poisons any type of well, then you better be prepared. Be prepared to know that this might not be a long-term arrangement between the two sides, no matter what is said publicly. And we better be prepared to make a certain adjustment next year or the year after.
And Scott Harris, I think any general manager worth their weight in gold considers every single option.
And he does.
And to me, I remember having these conversations about Miguel Cabrera when you remember everybody and their brother wanted to lock him up. And I said, and openly admit, it was a radio conversation. I said, okay, let's have that conversation. But what if in a few years his body breaks down? Little did we know. Okay, much respect, Hall of Famer, great memories.
Mm-hmm.
The buyer's remorse the last few years on that contract was real. Nobody can deny that. And they shouldn't even think about that. And I said, I don't want a general manager that doesn't think about it. I want a general manager that thinks of every possible angle that can improve the baseball team.
Especially when it's not needed. Especially when you don't have to extend them when you don't necessarily need to. I said the same thing about the Justin Verlander contract, and I got nothing but pushback left and right. If that's your philosophy, and you and I are closer than we are apart, then why would you do it now, knowing that you've got him under control for 2 more years?
I would do it because I think, again, part of the magic, Shep, of that Tiger era is the way they took care of people in word of mouth. And you know that. I'm going back to 2004. Let's go take care of Pudge. I mean, everybody was talking about it during the 2003 World Series, right? This is a man playing for a contract. He played like a man playing for a contract. Everybody had him going to New York. Everybody had him going here. Everybody had him going there. And Detroit jumped in. And then it was Carlos Guillen, who you know from all your years working with the Tigers. Carlos Guillen was like the Pied Piper for a lot of Latin American players, right? And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, the way they treat us, look what they're – Maglio comes in. You bring Victor Martinez in, who was another Pied Piper.
Yeah. Placido Blanco.
Right. Shep, honest to God, and you tell me, maybe I'm putting too much into it. I think it's word of mouth, and it reminds me of Christopher's father, Mr. Ilitch. It reminds me of Mr. Ilitch in with the Red Wings. I mean, there was a reputation that the Red Wings had.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
100%. And I think, to the team that you and I love right now, the Lions have changed their reputation.
100%.
Look at how the Lions are taking care of teams, taking care of a guy like David Montgomery. Look at what they did with Zadarius Smith. Hey, it's your bye week. We traded for you, but we know you were going to be on a bye for Cleveland. We know we're playing a good team in Houston. We know you've got to go assess what your hurricane-damaged house may be down in Florida. We're going to give you the weekend off. We want you to be with us, but we're going to give you a couple of extra days down there in Florida, assess what you need to assess, take care of your family, and when you're ready to go, we'll go full bore. Look, that matters, Sean. That resonates. Players talk. If people think players are at the middle of the field and they're holding hands, saying a prayer, and then afterwards they're like, hey, man, say hi to the missus. Good luck to the kids. We'll go fishing in the off season. No, they're talking about a lot of different stuff, okay? And that's part of it. How do you like it here? I love it. Stop me if I've told you the story. Miguel Cabrera was out there early years of A.J. Hinch. Actually, it was 2 years ago. And a guy like Jose Iglesias came up to him and said, hey, man, I'd love to come back. And Miguel Cabrera said, it's not like it was when you were here before. It's different. You got to work, Poppy. There are things that you've got to do. It's not the same. And he's like, I understand. In other words, the reputation was, listen, this is no country club. You're gonna earn your spot here. You got to work to get stuff done. There are certain expectations we have. It's changed a little bit. That's how it is with the Lions. I was hoping it would be the same way with the Tigers, specifically in this case. If it's not, that's going to get around, and that's going to hurt them, not just with Skubal, but with other players in the future.
I got a couple Lion stories to bring up. I'm not going to mention names, but true story. I hope you can take me at my word. Let me tell you about Legacy Partners first. Did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents, and they provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. I'm serious. Those aren't just words. I hope you're paying attention. They did it for me and my family, made it so easy as well. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right question to get the right coverage put in place, and yes, help save you some money as well. This is a no-brainer. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're paying too much and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Give Legacy a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, business insurance needs. They got your back. Call them today, 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get your coverage. Shep, true story. One very prominent former Lion. If I said his name, everybody would know who it was. Another one, maybe not as prominent. Two different Lions told me, looked me right in the eye, and said, I never thought I'd be back here. And to both of them, I had a feeling what they were saying. But to both of them, I played dumb, and I can play dumb with the best of them. But anyway, one of them said, man, the way they treat us, like, number one, I didn't feel like I was part of the family. I didn't feel like I was wanted here. I didn't feel, and trust me when I say this, they can still do a better job. Okay.
Yeah, especially with their alumni. What they did to their alumni this year, now that they're good, is unacceptable.
It's 1,000% unacceptable. Yeah. It's almost like, Shep, you started to get some good graces back, and then you pulled the rug out of them. And it's sad, and it's stuff that people don't talk about, but I guess I don't care. But it was amazing to me because this very prominent player said that to me. He was like, man, you knew the reputation that we had. You knew what people, were saying and everything. And, it looks like they want to change it until there's a chance to give them a box.
Well, what's amazing to me, Sean, is that the teams don't follow successful teams and their relationships with their past players. It does matter. It really does. Dodgers do probably one of the best, if not the best, in all of baseball with their relationship with their ex-players. The Tigers don't do a very good job of that, but the Red Wings do, which is interesting. I wish the Lions used to do a really nice job of it. Suddenly they get good and they're going to pull that proverbial rug from out underneath. It's wrong. And I think it's really important that when you've got those relationships with players, that you enhance them, not separate yourself more from them. It should be more celebrated. You go to Boston 2 years ago when I was at Fenway Park for a series, they acknowledged a different Red Sox player every game. So you saw Louis Tiant up one day. The next day, you saw Wade Boggs, because I rode up in the elevator with him. The next day was a different player. They do a great job of their home games, bringing that player, letting him sit in the box. He and his family are there. They acknowledge him during the game. Crowd goes crazy. It's a big deal. And players, like we said, they talk about that. They recognize it. And the young players look up. They notice it too. And I don't know why more teams don't get it.
I think that every other sport should follow the lead of hockey. And those aren't words that come out of my mouth very often. But I think every other sport should follow the lead of hockey. Do you know how many alumni rooms there are? Where I don't care if you played 2 games for our franchise. I don't care if you took a shift for our franchise. We have a room specifically. We have a room specifically for you set aside. The Red Wings have that. The Habs alumni room, Shep, I've been there. It's insane. Like, you walk around going, oh my gosh, they all come back.
All right, so answer me this.
Because they're welcomed back.
Yeah. If the Red Wings is so good, and it was really good at the Joe too, with the Olympia room, right? If it's so good, why don't the Tigers do it? It's the same owner.
Well,
I don't get it.
I do.
Well, I think I just asked a question. I'm looking for an answer.
So there's this guy. He likes looking at like these little model cities and everything. He's got this model on his desk down in Detroit, and he looks at him. Ooh, I'm gonna build something there. I'm gonna build something there. It's just. Hey, let's talk about Lindsay Broadwell. Can we do that? When it's time to get yourself a house, whether you're buying or selling, you need to contact the right agent. Who do we recommend? There she is, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need Pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, and when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house, and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Shep, we only have a couple minutes to go, but you and I were talking about this Monday night. I didn't even know that it had changed already, but Vegas, basically all the sports books have instilled the Lions as the favorite to not get to the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. And this is that. I don't know why. For some reason, I kind of sat back and I go, I've been dreaming about this my whole life. Like that, for whatever reason, that was the impetus, Now, just seeing the pregame coverage if the Lions get to the Super Bowl, and obviously, God forbid, they win the Super Bowl, we shouldn't be surprised. But at the same time, I think maybe for guys like you and I, it's kind of a pinch yourself moment, isn't it? It's like, Absolutely. Is this real?
Sean, real? When you led the march, would you ever thought you'd be in this situation? Absolutely not. Talking about this team, experiencing things that I've experienced, whether it be pre and post game radio shows, pre and post game TV shows, coaches, pressers, introducing those on TV, covering them and calling their preseason games, never would have expected it. But they do so many things right, Sean, from their coaches. And I mean that. The coaches, the little things that they do. I mean, look what Dan Campbell said earlier this week about David Montgomery. David Montgomery's not Walter Payton. He's not Earl Campbell. But Dan Campbell is out there making sure people recognize just how valuable this guy is and how much the offensive linemen like him too, right? All the times that this team could have easily said, well, it's not meant to be because we just lost our best defensive player. We just lost the big free agent defensive end we picked up. We've now lost our leading tackler and our linebacker. We get a suspension from our deep ball threat, right? There's also a suspension from our safety because of a hit that he had. They play through it, man. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and all the things you and I used to talk about with whatever team was successful, whether it be the Niners in the 80s, the Patriots in the thousands, the Colts in the thousands, whatever. All those teams, we said, you know what they do? They don't bitch about it. They don't whine about it. They're not calling in saying, oh, woe is me. Guess what? The Lions aren't doing that, man. They are so flipping good. When you have Tom Brady and Bill Belichick coming out on podcasts and saying, this team is scary good, this offense is among the best that we've seen, that's telling you something of what this team's got going on, doesn't it?
I feel like the slapdick I made fun of for years when I was doing radio, because every week I say to myself, Lions by 2 touchdowns. I'm saying it again. Yeah, they're going to go down to Kansas City and they're going to win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But cool. And Shep, we used to have fun with people like that. I don't think you understand how good John Joseph Harrington is. Nah, you're right about that. Yeah, you are absolutely right.
I missed the boat on that one.
All right, we got to get out of here. All About Catering LLC is a full-service caterer. Graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for, from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. Don't sweat your next big event. Get Rick and his staff to do it. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews. Give them a call, 586-731-1398 to get your event started. Shep, anything we need to pimp? What do you got going on this weekend?
No, nothing to pimp. I know you got the 8-man championship coming up, so I wish you luck there in the drive to Marquette. On Monday, you and I will talk a little bit more about what we've got coming up after the holidays, because it's a big high school state championship weekend, buddy.
And
so be safe.
We'll talk about that 2-touchdown win down in Indy.
Yeah, absolutely. Give the points, right?
Yep, absolutely.
The Lions and get the points.
Have a great weekend, Todd. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. See you guys later. Bye-bye.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.